Hello and welcome back as we continue our journey through the animal kingdom with our next phylum, which is Phylum Arthropoda. You are definitely no stranger to this very wide and diverse phylum which can be found everywhere, even in the room that you are staying right now. So Phylum Arthropoda includes all these organisms which we usually classify as crustaceans, insects, some types of bugs, and also spiders and the likes. So if you're ready, let's learn about their unique characteristics. We'll talk about the basic stuff, like their basic body plan. So for arthropods, they are triploblastic, they have bilateral symmetry, and they are coelomates. And they also have segmented body. So these things should be fairly straightforward. And we'll look at more and more of the unique characteristics of arthropods. And for this part of the lesson, I'm going to be using this diagram of a lobster. So you can imagine literally any other arthropod as the example in your head, but as I go through these explanations, I'm going to be using this lobster right here. So you can use the same. Okay, so let's look at these unique characteristics of arthropods. The first is that they have hard and chitinous exoskeleton. So all that hard shell is a unique thing to arthropods. It's hardened by chitin. It is a hard external covering for protection, mobility, and support. So fungsi exoskeleton ini adalah untuk perlindungan, pergerakan, dan support. I'm not sure how to translate support, but I'm sure you can use Google to translate it. And the exoskeleton is also the attachment site for muscles. Just like how in our body, our muscles will attach to our skeleton. Okay? Otot-otot besar kita akan bersambung kepada kita punya tulang-tulang. Konsep yang sama dalam arthropoda, otot-otot dalam arthropoda dia akan bersambung kepada dia punya exoskeleton. Supaya dia dapat gerakan exoskeleton, itu yang membolehkan pergerakan badan dia. Second unique characteristic we'll talk about is that they have paired and jointed appendages. Appendages adalah apa-apa sahaja yang keluar daripada badan dia. So anything that sticks out of the body can be considered an appendage. On you, a human, your arms and legs are appendages. Your nose can be considered an appendage. And for males, your private parts are also considered appendage. So if we're looking at this lobster, anything that is sticking out of the main body of the lobster, we can consider it as appendage. So sesungut dia ni adalah dia punya appendage. Okay, these pinches, katip-katip dia tu pun appendage. Kaki-kaki dia pun adalah appendage. So when we look at the body of the lobster, it is paired and jointed. Kiri ada, kanan ada. Dan dia ada sendi. Okay, so it has places where it's jointed, it can bend. Like here on the pinches, sini boleh bengkok, sini boleh bengkok. Kaki dia pun ada joint. Sini boleh bengkok, boleh bengkok, boleh bengkok. These paired and jointed appendages are so good to the arthropods because they make the body plan more efficient, so that the organism can have specialized, the organism's body can be specialized for a variety of functions. For example, this part can be specialized for detecting changes in environment. This part can be specialized for movement, for protection. The legs can be specialized for movement, for moving around. The mouth can be specialized for feeding. So those are examples of how the paired and jointed appendages is good for arthropods. Okay, once again, in this diagram here, pinchers, legs, and also the antennae are examples of these appendages. Right, next unique characteristics, we're going to talk about cephalization, forming of a head. Arthropods have well-developed sensory organs, so those sensory organs can be eyes, or their sense of touch, or their smell, or hearing, or balancing, or their chemical receptor, anything that is detecting changes in the environment. They have very good of the, stuff like that. And also, as you can see here, things like their antennae are especially receptive to changes in the environment. And of course, what comes with that is well-developed sensory system inside as well with the neurons. Okay, fourth unique characteristic of arthropod is that they have antagonistic striated muscle. Ini merujuk kepada otot bertentangan. Kalau dalam BM dia adalah otot bertentangan dalam badan arthropoda. So in humans, we have antagonistic striated muscle as well. Kalau kita bayangkan kita punya tangan, kita punya bicep dengan tricep, okay? One of those muscles is going to push your arm up, and the other muscle pulls it down. So the biceps and the triceps are antagonistic muscle. Satu tolak, satu tarik. Dan diorang dua-dua striated sebab dia skeletal muscle. Konsep yang sama ada dalam badan arthropoda. So, say for example, in this pincher, contoh pada katip dia ni, ada muscle yang akan membantu katip dia ni bergerak ke depan, ada muscle yang akan membantu dia tarik ke belakang. So, inside the body of the arthropods, they have antagonistic striated muscles. This provides great range of mobility for the organism and enable it to move faster, either to catch prey or to escape from the enemy. Can move better, can move faster, can do more things when you can move. Okay, so once again, this is diagram showing the jointed appendages, and they have segmented bodies and external skeleton. Going back to the lobster and moving on to the next unique characteristic. We'll talk about that segmented body or tagmata. The bodies of arthropods can be divided into head, thorax, and abdomen, or in some other arthropods, instead of 3 segments, it can be divided into 2 segments, which is cephalothorax, kepala dan thorax, plus abdomen. In this lobster, it's 3 parts lah, the head, thorax, abdomen. And another unique characteristic of arthropod, I mentioned a little bit about this before, it has a well-developed nervous system. So dia ada otak yang terbentuk, yang well-developed. So it's quite good, basically. Okay, it has a pretty damn good nervous system. The arthropods have a dorsal brain and a double ventral solid nerve cord. So if we're looking at this diagram, dorsal brain means bagian atas sini, dia ada satu otak. Dia ada double ventral solid nerve cord, means dia punya nerve akan dari atas, otak di belakang, turun ke bawah. Nerve dia yang panjang, akar tunjang dia macam ada 2 dan daripada mulut turun ke bahagian perut sampai ke hujung. Okay, that is the double ventral solid nerve cord. 2 akar tunjang yang memanjang dari bahagian atas kepala ni sampai kepada hujung. Tapi dia bukan macam kita yang di bahagian tulang belakang. Di arthropoda, dia punya nerve cord adalah bahagian perut, bahagian ventral. Okay, so that's another thing to remember. Okay, so this is diagram showing the tagmata or body segmentation into the thorax and abdomen. So in some insects like this, I'm not sure what this bug is, but it has a head and thorax and abdomen. But in this prawn or shrimp, the cephalothorax is one part, the abdomen is one part. Okay, so we're continuing on with the other unique characteristics of arthropoda. Unique characteristic number 7 is that they have open circulatory systems with a true heart. So this one I'm going to look at the lobster but with a different diagram. Here you can see the circulatory system of the lobster. Over here, you have the eyes, brain, ventral nerve cord yang warna kuning, macam saya cakap dari bahagian perut. And here you have the heart of the lobster with all the blood vessels going throughout the body. And point number 8 is that arthropods have they do their reproduction when they have internal fertilization. So arthropods have separate sexes. Satu organism tu mungkin jantan, mungkin betina, bukan kunsa. And they have internal fertilization. This allows the animal to breed in dry land with the examples of insects. Kalau yang marine tu memang dia internal fertilization juga, tapi bukan untuk menyebabkan dia dapat hidup on dry land. This point about allow animal to breed in dry land is only for terrestrial arthropods. Okay, next thing I need to talk about is another unique characteristic of arthropods is they have well-developed sensory organs. They have both compound and simple eyes. Let's look at this compound and simple eyes stuff. So, simple eyes can be like this. This type of eye is simple lens eye. It can be found in vertebrates, cephalopods, gastropods, jellies, annelids, and one copepod crustacean. So one type of arthropod can have this type of eyes. Simple corneal eye is like this. This is usually found in arachnids, some vertebrates, and some larval insects. Other more famous insects will have this compound eye, which is what you usually see in flies and bees and such. So they are found in insects, crustaceans, some mollusks, and annelids. So in arthropods, they can have compound and simple eyes. Sometimes in one species, they have those two types of eyes. Sometimes in one species, only one type of eyes. You can read more about arthropods and the types of eyes in the link below. Okay, moving on to other unique characteristics of arthropods is that they have an excretory system. So, dia ada cara untuk buang bahan kumbahan daripada badan dia. The excretory system in arthropod is not kidney. It is this thing called Malpighian tubes. Malpighian tubules. So, the Malpighian tubules, if you look on this diagram here, it's the yellow parts that are very near to the intestines. The Malpighian tubules will collect waste from the blood and then reabsorb water so that only the dry material is excreted from the body. Okay, so ini adalah untuk tapis bahan kumbahan, tapi dia tidak buang air lah. Dia buang bahan kumbahan yang kering saja. Moving on to point number 11. The 11th unique characteristic of Arthropoda is that they have well-developed respiratory organs for gaseous exchange. So, setiap spesies tu, dia mungkin ada satu saja respiratory organ dia. Satu jenis dia respiratory organ, but some of them do have two types. Okay, but we'll just have a look at this. Okay, these arthropods that we're looking at, they could have gills, like in crabs or shrimps. Okay, insang. They could have book gills, which is slightly different type of insang. This can be found in horseshoe crabs. They could have book lungs, ini macam paru-paru. This can be found in spiders and their relatives, or they could have trachea. This is what you learn about since primary school through middle school. This is found in most terrestrial arthropods, like insects, some spiders, and millipedes. So let's have a look at each of these respiratory organs. Kita tengok gambar dan kita baca. So kalau book gills, di akan nampak macam ni. Book gills are respiratory organs that are found in horseshoe and crabs. They are usually in 5 pairs. They look like this. They are flap-like appendages that allow gas exchange within water and seem to have their origin as modified legs. Okay, so maybe millions of years ago, these used to be legs, but over time, they evolved and became book gills. The second type of respiratory organ that you can find in arthropods is book lungs. So this is respiratory organ in spiders. It is stacks of alternating air pockets and hemolymph-filled tissue, giving them an appearance similar to a folded book. These are book lungs that are evolved from book gills. So daripada ini, lama-kelamaan, many millions of years, it becomes this kind of structure. And the book gills are found externally while book lungs are found internally. So ini dipasukan dalam badan organism tu. So air pockets will go in. As you can see here, there's a little hole here. Air pockets can go in. And then when it goes in here, it will, because the cells in here are only 1 cell thick, so there will be gaseous exchange going in and out. So it is more or less like what happens inside our lungs, just that it is in a more simple structure compared to our lungs. Do you need to memorize this? No, not really, but I'm just going to explain it as I go on. You can skip the video to the part that you want to listen to. Yeah, so that's about it. Kita fokus lebih banyak kepada book gills dan book lungs sebab ini yang mungkin kamu baru saja belajar. Alright, so just as extra information, there are 6 classes of Arthropoda that you may or may not know about. The first is class Chilopoda, which is centipedes. You could also have class Crustacea, which is prawns and most things that you eat at shell out. class Diplopoda, which are millipedes, class Insecta, which are grasshoppers, and also a lot of other six-legged organisms that you could find, class Arachnida, which are spiders, and class Merostomata, which are horseshoe crabs. Okay, so these are the 6 classes of arthropods. Arthropods are considered very successful because we can find them in so many places throughout this world and in so many types of environments. They live well, they are thriving, and there's so many species of them. That means to us that arthropods are very, very successful phylum. Now we'll look at what are the factors that contribute to the success of arthropods, and you will see the 6 reasons for arthropod success are also their unique characteristics. Kenapa arthropoda ni boleh berjaya hidup di dunia ini, di bumi ini? Sebab 6 karakteristik ini. Number 1, hard and chitinous exoskeleton. Number 2, they have paired and jointed appendages. Number 3, they have segmentation or metamerism so that they have specialization of functions. Number 4, they have highly efficient respiratory system. Number 5, they have highly developed sensory organ. And number 6, they have metamorphosis. So kebanyakan daripada ini juga adalah dia punya unique characteristics. What I want to comment on here, what wasn't in the previous slide, is metamorphosis. Kenapa metamorphosis dikira sebagai salah satu sebab kenapa arthropod ini dikira phylum yang sangat-sangat successful? Because with metamorphosis, the younger generation and the older generation, the larvae and the adult, will be feeding on different sources. So, the young ones are not competing with the old ones for resources. Yang larvae tidak bersaing dengan yang adult untuk sumber yang sama. This reduces intraspecific competition in the same species, and that means everybody can live until they are adult and make more babies, make more eggs, make more larvae, and therefore make arthropods more successful. That is how metamorphosis contributes to arthropod success. Alright, so that was a slightly long explanation on arthropods. Thank you very much for your time and attention. Just to quickly summarize, in this video, we talked a lot about the unique characteristics of arthropods, and I tried to explain them using the lobster and a few other diagrams as well. I also touched on some of the respiratory organs. You don't really need to memorize that. I talked a little bit about the classes that are in Arthropoda. And last but not least, we talk about the 6 factors that are contributing to arthropod success. So go ahead and have a read at that in your own time. And if you do have extra time, do go ahead and watch these videos. So we have 2 videos here. The first is from Nature Here and Now by Chris Egnoto. So that is on arthropods and their diversity. Or you could also watch this video on Crustaceans, the insects of the deep sea by Natural World Facts. Go ahead, have a watch at any of them whenever you have the time. And that is all that I want to tell you for this video. Thank you very much for your time and attention, and I will see you again soon. Bye!